Reggie Koch, JD, studied Spanish and International Studies prior to studying law at the William H. Bowen School of Law in Little Rock, Arkansas. He has also studied at the University of Arizona at Tucson and the University of Guadalajara in Jalisco, Mexico, and he was presented with the Marco Polo Award for Excellent in International Studies. His work experience includes a 14-year career as a law enforcement officer and a position with the Secretary of Public Security in Jalisco, Mexico, where he studied Mexican culture and trained Mexican police officers. The Koch law firm handles civil litigation and criminal defense cases as well as immigration matters.
At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Reggie Koch and let him present what he has. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is my, I don't remember how many times I've spoken at this event. I keep getting invited back every year. So sometimes they mentioned in the introduction that I used to be a police officer. I was a police officer here in Central Arkansas for 14 years. And sometimes, depending on what's going on and what section I speak in, I talk about police stuff. And sometimes I talk about law stuff because I'm currently, as they also said, an attorney. I do civil rights stuff. I do a lot of employment stuff. In the last session, they talked a lot about EEOC stuff. I do a lot of Title VII EEOC stuff, usually for the plaintiff, well, always for the plaintiff against employers. I'm open to doing fair housing. We've had a couple of them. They settled pretty quickly. I've never had to litigate one. But today, the title of this section is about community policing. So I'm going to talk a little bit more on the police side of it. As with, I see other law enforcement people here, they'll tell you as well, as a police officer, you get called out on these fair housing things. You get called out to disputes and stuff quite a bit. And, but I don't think, given what's going on right now, that I can talk about keeping our community safe without addressing some current problems we're having with police officers. And I was one of them, okay? And I committed wrongs just right along with everybody I worked with, okay? Because of the police culture. So that's what I want to talk about today. We have problems in this country with our police. If you don't think that, if you think that this is all just made up and that it's just a bunch of people whining and there's no problem, I mean, I don't even know why you're here. We have problems with our police. I saw it. I participated in it. I was young and dumb, okay? We have problems. We have to change some things. It is very fitting that we're talking about this right now as Baltimore, Maryland gets the medicine it so deserves and has had coming for a while. Now, I blame our problems with police on three groups mostly. The first one being our courts. I stood at the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis right before Ferguson happened and talked to them about this. And I blame our courts for the way in this new Jim Crow era we have that they interpret our Fourth Amendment to give law enforcement the ability to pick and choose who they enforce laws against. I could talk for 2 hours about the Fourth Amendment. Don't have time for that today because they're wanting me to keep this to a few minutes. I also talked to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals about this thing that they call qualified immunity. Now, qualified immunity is not always a bad thing. I don't even have time to go into what it's about. But you lawyers out there know what I'm talking about. Qualified immunity has gone from the definition used to be or was supposed to be something like, look, if a police officer's out there and he's doing his job and he's trying to act in good faith, we're not going to hold little mistakes against him. If they're trying to do right, we're not going to hammer him because everybody makes mistakes. I agree with that definition. I was a police officer. I made mistakes. And I'm sure glad nobody was there to stomp me for every one of them. I agree with that. But that's not the definition anymore. Now, the definition of qualified immunity is, by my estimation, look, we can't let you sue police officers who are incompetent and don't do their jobs. Or else we won't have any police officers left. So we're not going to let you sue them. That's the current definition of qualified immunity. And until we change that, we're having trouble here. The second group that I want to talk about a minute is our prosecuting attorneys. Prosecuting attorneys regularly turn a blind eye to police misconduct and will not even talk to a police officer for something that if the rest of us did it, I'm talking to us as now I'm not a police officer, we'd go to jail, no questions asked. We need our prosecutors to be fair across the board. The last group I'm going to talk to is our so-called good police officers. I do agree. I worked with police. I worked with a lot of them for a long time. Most of our police officers are good. We have some bad police. But see, that doesn't tell enough. I hear that all the time, and that's not the end of the story. Because the problem, and I know you might say, well, why don't you blame the bad police then? Well, I do, but that's really a moot point, right? We expect that from them. They're bad police. It's like the people in prison who escape, and you blame the escapists. Well, no, you blame the guards because the people that escape, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what we expect. So the problem is with the good police. And I call on the good police out there to stop turning a blind eye. Stop hiding behind the thin blue line. Stop this police culture that won't allow. And I know that the lower ranking police can't help it because I was there sometimes. If a police officer stands up and points the finger and says, my fellow officer did wrong today, they're going to suffer. They're going to suffer the consequences. Trust me on this one. Been there and done it. We've got to change police culture and make it okay, make it cool for police to stand up and say, don't mess up in front of me, fellow police officers. Don't do things that you're not supposed to do in front of me, or I'll put you in handcuffs right there in your uniform myself. Until we can get there, we're going to have this problem, because that ain't cool right now, let me tell you. What's the solution? Well, there's a million ideas out there. I like the idea of body cameras. Trust me, I was a police officer. They don't like to be filmed. They don't like it. They don't like it. Okay? But we need it. I'm very much an advocate of filming everything police do. I had a camera in my car for a long time, and I'm here to tell you, I acted better when I knew I was on camera. Yes, I did. I acted better. But body cameras are going to have to come with rules. They're going to have to come with rules because there's a lot of ways to get around them. We're going to have to give juries the ability to give a negative inference if, for some reason, the camera didn't work that day. Because a lot of times they don't work. You know, when the worst things happen, they just don't work. The next thing is we need to protect the citizen's right to record. In Texas, this last session, somebody introduced a bill to make it a crime to film police officers. What the hell is that? Fortunately, it got voted down. Colorado, on the other hand, Colorado's got good ideas, I think. Colorado, on the other hand, made a law that gives, it appoints damages. I mean, it states damages if a police officer interferes with your right to record. That's the way to go. That and, while we're on the subject of Colorado, legalizing marijuana so that we don't put all these people that don't do anything wrong in jail. The next thing, not one more dollar to build more jails. Not one more damn dollar to build jails. Let's go to the jails and let's go and find these people that back in this farce they call the war on drugs. And let's go and find people that are in there for simple possession for years and years, or even sale of stuff like marijuana, because white people can sell marijuana in Colorado all day long now. We still got people in prison doing years and years. One newspaper reporter told me there's people doing 80 years. Let them out and see how much room we got left before we build any more jails. Yeah. The next thing is, we all sit on juries. Well, as a police officer, I never did, and as an attorney, I'll never get to. But if you sit on a jury, don't find anybody guilty of simple possession of marijuana. The power's up to you. Just don't find them guilty. We have to hold police accountable. I hated hearing this when I was a police officer, but I've grown up now, and I've seen the other side of this. We're going to have to hold police accountable, and that's all there is to it. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is all these people that say, even President Obama, and I support him, but even President Obama got up there and they're apologizing every minute for, oh my gosh, these people that did all these burning and looting and all these things, this is it's unproductive and it's counterproductive and they're hurting the cause and this, that, and the other. They're not being truthful to you. Let me tell you what they really want to say. They want to say that Baltimore, Maryland, and the things that have happened there have been a huge success. And that the reason they've been a success is because we've got 24 hours a day, we've got hundreds of cameras filming everything. The day after the riots that night, we had hundreds and hundreds of cameras filming and everybody's out there together singing Amazing Grace and all that's great. But they could have stood out there every day and sang Amazing Grace and they would have just gotten sporadic notice. It was the people who, and I agree with you, a lot of those people, most of those people maybe, they did not have the right thing in their mind when they were going in and looting those stores. But the truth of the matter is it got the cameras out there. It got the cameras out there. And in a few days, all these police, the extra police, and all these National Guard people, they're going home. And the question's going to remain. Do you want justice or do you want peace? Because you can't have both. Or no justice, no peace. I said that wrong. No justice, no peace. That's where we're heading in this country. We better tighten it up or it's going to get bad.